What's up, guys? We are live. So we got the man, the myth, the legend, John Anthony Lifestyle, formerly known as Jmulv, joining us for a live infield breakdown. So what we thought we were going to do, we actually did one of these on his channel about a week ago. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. But basically, we've just been going through his infield and breaking it down together. And so like pointing out all the things that, for example, he does that I do as well and vice versa. So yeah. So you want to give a quick, I think pretty much everyone on this channel knows who you are, but let's just do a quick 30-second summary anyway for the one or two people who don't.
Okay. So what's up, guys? John Anthony. Subscribe to John Anthony Lifestyle. I am the notoriously known as the lay count guy, the guy that actually gives a fuck about banging hot girls and keeping track of it, which is very strange, I know. It seems, isn't that so weird? I've always found that so weird that everyone like shies away from it in the industry. If you were in sales or anything else, you'd want to be following the people that have the most results.
I've always taken the middle ground. I don't shy away from it, but I also don't like heavily talk. I'm like somewhere in the middle. Like if you ask me, like I'll give you my range. I'm like somewhere in the middle, I would say on that. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So currently 1,371 girls. It was Brazilian Valentine's Day. I'm living in Brazil right now. Brazilian Valentine's Day yesterday. And so it was like foursome time all day long. We were up till like 5 a.m, but it's all good. Yeah. So me and Alex are like two of the only guys in the dating space that offer straightforward, no bullshit, practical advice. And that's very effective, efficient, optimized, etc. in the sea of woo-woo self-help and abstract theory nonsense. So, yeah, that's my background. And I focus on, whereas Alex are you still officially mostly online and texting?
Like in terms of what I personally do or in terms of my content?
Your content, it's mostly centered on those two?
No, I would say it's branched out. Like we have a video coming out today. It's Todd V Cold Approach Skills Reviewed. So like I've been doing a lot of like reaction videos and review videos lately. I'd say the content has definitely heavily branched out from just online at this point.
Okay. Yeah, so my first 400 were night game, my first 400 lays. And then from 400 to 1371, it's been mostly online and night mixed. I've done a lot of day game pulls as well, or day game closes, but it's been primarily night game and online. Is my video lagging? It looks like it's lagging on my end.
No, man, it's good. At least it comes out good on my end. Guys, let us know in the comments if there's any audio or video issues on our end so we can fix them before we jump into this.
Okay, cool. But yeah, we're going to break down. I'm going to show infield footage, night game pull from start to finish from some years back, and we'll provide our feedback.
Yeah, it's going to be epic. So we're going to break down a full infield pull from start to finish. Just parroting basically what you said, but I think it's worth repeating because there's not that many of those online. Actually, very close to little, surprisingly. You would think that YouTube would be littered with a bunch of pulls from start to finish, but
that's because I don't think most coaches even have one.
Yeah, it's very rare,
unfortunately.
So that in and of itself is a lot of value. All right, so let's just John was lagging. Okay. The lag doesn't show up on my end, so I'm gonna just wrote this. Yo, guys, can we get more feedback from people? Because that's just one person. Maybe it shows up fuzzy on there. And can you guys write in if it is lagging or if it's good?
It's probably trying to broadcast me in 4K. I got the new 4K camera on here.
Oh.
I actually just got a green screen too to put behind, so I can put dumb shit behind me.
Dude, that'd be funny. You should put like you should have like a slideshow of like Owen or something like that, like doing some like weird dance or something like that. Oh, there we go. Holy shit! It was just like a bunch of comments just showed up like all at the same time. But yeah, everyone's saying it's fine, so we're good. Let's jump into. Right. So I guess the lag might be on my end, to be honest. But yeah, let's jump into the infield.
All right, so I gotta click share here.
Yeah.
What was that instruction? I closed that window. What was the instruction?
Okay, I got you. So, in StreamYard, click share screen. If a list of tips appears, click the blue share screen button. In the pop-up, choose Chrome tab. So you got to choose Chrome tab and check share audio and select Chrome tab with your video file. So it's basically when you share screen, it gives you several options. You got to click the Chrome tab and share audio.
All right. It doesn't have to be in the Chrome tab. Actually, there was an option to share entire screen with showing audio as well.
Okay, but so the audio is.
All right. So we're like.
We don't have to do the double. We have it. Yeah, there we go.
So if I bring this up here, I need more infield. I did so just some context here. I did the majority of my infield filming in 2014, so that was like 7 years ago. But I was already at 350 lay count, which most guys, a lot of the coaches in the modern day aren't even at 100 yet. That's I'm always ranting on and on about lay count and experience. But my game is very solid at this point, so it's not an issue that it was 7 years ago. But then I filmed a whole bunch more in 2017, which in New York City, which I haven't even released most of that yet. So, but in 2014, I was doing 5 nights a week filming for several months, which was very grueling. You just started doing a lot of filming, Alex. You know how
not a lot. I don't do nearly that much. I film once or twice a week. I don't know how you would film 5 days a week. That's like seems like.
Well, basically, we would go out like let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sometimes even Mondays too. But we would just every time we were going out to the club, we had like a multiple person camera team. And we would just mic up every time we went out. So we just film the entire night. So
yeah, I'm doing a podcast. Shut the fuck up.
All right. So do you want me to just jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this is, you can see, I can't see anything besides my screen here. So you can see me. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So this is, and by the way, platinumdatingsystem.com, quick shout out in the beginning here for anyone interested in an 8-week mentoring where I teach you my entire system. So this is in a nightclub in California. This is, it's mostly pretty dark in here. That's why it's purple, because there's a night vision on the camera. So
solo people.
Yeah, I was demonstrating in this particular approach how it doesn't really matter what you say as the opener. So I actually said, "Hey, fuckhead," which isn't. I've had students be like, "Oh, I'm going to start saying that." It's not like a good opener. I was just like showing that it doesn't really matter what you say. So I'm approaching this girl in the corner. I say, "Hey, fuckhead," and she thinks I'm saying, "Are you really fucked up?" And then I basically repeat it again. So let's just jump in.
Hey, how are you? You're pretty fucked up?
No, I said, "Hey, fuckhead. What's your name?" All right, so I said, "What's your name?" This is me over on the side.
All right.
All right, so immediately I'm being physical, shaking the hand. Did the audio come through? Is it sharing the audio?
It's good, yeah. It's a lot better this time.
I wish we fucking knew that before. I've been doing infield breakdowns on my channel every week. It's like coming out of the laptop speakers into the fucking microphone, and everyone's
this is like 10 times better.
Okay, and yeah, it is tough to record in the nightclub. So we're using a cardioid pattern mic, so it just grabbed in the inside. But let's keep moving. So in my game, I always do isolations in the first 2-3 minutes. In this case, her friends are not with her, but I still like to move them in the first few minutes of the interaction anyways. Isolation builds up compliance momentum, so it's easier for them to comply with the next step. And it's like kind of like building a bubble and all this shit because you guys are changing environments. The whole goal is to move her closer and closer to the exit. So you'll see I end up baby stepping her out towards the smoking section, but let's keep moving.
We're having a party. It's my friend's birthday tonight. What are you doing after this?
All right, so now I'm going into seating the pole, which is setting the frame that we're going to hang out afterwards, and also
you move fast, bro. You isolated her within 20 seconds of meeting. That is crazy. I mean, she was already somewhat isolated, but that is
I like to do it fairly quickly because I'm just in the habit of doing that because normally the friends are going to interfere. So the friend, like, it's hard to be physical in front of the friends because a lot of times the girl will feel judged, and also it just takes one diehard cockblock friend to fuck the whole thing up. And get involved and we're lesbians, we're just having a girls' night, like, I promise to keep her with me, et cetera, et cetera. So to circumvent all that shit, I moved them away from the group pretty quickly.
Do you find that you get like sometimes compliance issues when you try to isolate that quickly or not?
Yeah, but it's standard. You usually get I can't leave my friends like 90% of the time. when you try to pull like 90% of the time and when you try to isolate like 90% of the time. When I run boot camps, I'm like, you're going to say, hey, let's go, let's go back to my place. So they're close by. They're going to say, I can't leave my friends. And when you go to isolate, just expect it's like the natural order of course of how things unfold. But I remember in one boot camp, this one student was like, I don't think I can isolate that quickly. I don't understand. And I just had him pick like 10 different girls in a row. I'm like, pick the girl, tell me where to move her, and then I'll move her right after the open. And I think it only failed like one time because the girl had a boyfriend. But in almost every case, there's like objection battles. So usually you're like, hey, come with me. And they're like, I can't leave my friend. Or like, no, we're fine here. And then you're like, well, spread over there. Just come for a minute. I'll bring you right back, et cetera, et cetera. But I like to move them fairly quickly because that sets up the escalation that's going to happen and moves them away from their friends. But
that's awesome. That's like basically my game on steroids because I do that too, but I dilly dally way longer. So that's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, and also around this time, I always tell people on my channel this. I was doing like 5 to 20 minute pulls, which has since increased in time. Like for the average pull, they used to be 5 to 20 minutes, but what I was doing sometimes was pulling girls that weren't down enough or weren't down at all. Sometimes, so the closing odds would be like 60%, 70%, and then more closer to like 2016, 2017, around like 600 lay count or 700 lay count. That's when I started doing more like 30 to 45 minute interactions to do a pull. And I'd always get into a makeout first. So the filming I did in 2017, I filmed in New York City for 30 days in a row, and I had like 28 pulls, and it was insane. It was just like clockwork, like running like a machine. And what's it called? I was getting into a makeout before almost every single pull. And the makeout like makes the friends totally fuck off. And it really diffuses most of the girls' objections except for the hookup objection because now she assumes you guys are going to fuck. So then I just say, hey, let's go back, but don't worry, it's not for sex. But don't worry, I have no sexual expectations. I would like preempt the hookup objection because it would come almost every time. So just real quick, we'll continue. I'm seeding the poll here. So I'm saying, hey, we're having a thing after this. What are you doing after this? So I'm finding out her logistics and trying to get into objection handling right away, or at least find out what I'm working with right away. So she said she's going back to her place. You might not be able to hear some of these. All right, so we live like 4 blocks from here. Are you down to come party for a bit?
Why do you come for like 1 hour? Like, I have to work in the morning.
She's like, I'm supposed to go to my place. I'm like, why don't you come for like 1 hour? Or I think she said she has to work. And I said, I have to work in the morning too. Just come for like 1 hour. So whenever they give the objection that they have to be up early, they have to do something in the morning, I say that I have to be up early too and just to come for a little bit. All right, so there's objection number 1. She's with her friend and she lost her. You can provide, any kind of input here as we go along too.
No, I'm just fascinated by the speed. Like I'm actually like a little fast, like a little.
What I always assume attraction. I always assume attraction. Guys are always like, "Where's your qualification? Where's your push pull? Where's your push pull? Where's your investment?" Like, I don't do any of that stuff. Everything's compliance and non-compliance, which is Mystery's idea, which he took from operant conditioning, which comes from like B.F. Skinner and the psychologists. But it's just assuming attraction, assuming compliance, and then when you hit non-compliance or objections, you deal with those in turn, and then move it forward again. So I treat these girls like I've already banged them. I always tell guys, like, the purpose of the interaction isn't to win the girl over. It's not to gain points. It's not to avoid losing points.
I definitely agree with all that. That all makes sense. Do you feel like now there's a little bit more vibing in your game, or it's still
This was more towards, that's what I mean by the 5 to 20 minute thing, is it was like a little too quick because but I build comfort along the way. Like, you'll see, like, when we're walking through the club and shit, that's where I'm building and vibing. So that kind of stuff takes care of itself. It's more of what am I dealing with? Because if I run into hard objections, then I'm immediately bouncing out. Hard objections or hard logistics, then I'm immediately just taking a number and leaving.
Can you quickly break down how to tell the difference between a soft objection and a hard objection?
How much blood flow there is to the cock? No, I'm just kidding. No, so basically a hard objection, if she's like, hey, my sister's visiting from out of town, there's like no way I can leave her tonight. So that would be like That would be like a hard logistic. Or I have a boyfriend, right? He's here. If I determine like it's not going to be probabilistic or feasible, then I'm instantly leaving. So, and that's changing throughout the interaction too, because the vibe is changing and new information is constantly coming in. So I tell guys to, this is a really nerdy term, but I tell guys to make a real-time probabilistic assessment of the odds of being able to take that girl home, which you can determine based on her DTF level, which is just a general read of her compliance in general. And then also determining what her logistics are and how probabilistic it is to beat that. So if I go in and I'm asking these logistical questions and proposing that we hang out and I hit a hard objection or hard logistic, I take the phone number. If it's a hard logistic, I take the phone number. If it's a hard objection, like a boyfriend or something like this, then I just say, okay, have a good night, and I leave. So guys are often very shocked. Most guys will just dick around. Everything I do and say has a purpose. So most guys will just dick around endlessly and then eventually find out that she has a boyfriend or something like this, and they've wasted a bunch of time. Time is your greatest commodity. So I want to try to talk to every hot girl in the entire venue, if I can. I almost, even in the modern day, at 1,371 girls, I almost think pulling is like kind of dumb. Like, to be honest, just because I've realized after all these closes, like the vast majority of closes come from dates where you have perfect logistics. So that's like the big, that's like the big aha that I always tell people on my channel, is that the key to results is mass stacking dates. And on dates, you have perfect logistics. You're one-on-one, there's no cop blocks. You're at a venue right near your house, or she's coming straight to your house. In most cases, coming straight to your house, which is like the end state of a pull. You don't have to deal with objections and, to extract them from the venue. You're going to get some minor objections at the end of a date, but you can run your dates systematically, even in public, so that they routinely close. Like my date close rate's like 80 to 90%. The only times they don't close is if I run into a prude girl, or she just wants to wait and would feel more comfortable waiting or whatever.
Did you ever see the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson?
No.
The premise is like Scarlett Johansson like inevitably takes a bunch of like drugs that make her super smart and allows her to access 100% of her brain. It's based on the myth that we can only access 10% of our brains. But it's pretty interesting because she starts realizing all these things about the universe. This kind of like reminds me of that scene. You're like realizing like at like your advanced 1300 late count, you're realizing all these things about the game and dropping like all these like realizations. It's just fun. I think you'll get a kick out of that movie because it's like such a similar
Lucy.
Yeah, Lucy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the movie Limitless. It's like a similar premise.
It's very similar concept. Yeah. I've seen Limitless.
Because I played pro poker, and like I'm like super huge on health and longevity, where he's like Aunt Helen should be supplementing with a regimen of double base, blah blah blah. And then like stock trading, all that shit, all that stuff ties into the same hyperanalytical component. For those of you that aren't familiar with me, I come from a background of playing pro poker, working on nuclear missile defense for Lockheed Martin, doing defense contracts for 5 years, computer science and engineering and philosophy and psychology, double masters, double bachelors. So I basically was like a super nerd, super analytical person, and leveraged all that to treat this as a skill game and just break it all down like a chess match, and then be able to repeat it. And now people can never tell that I used to be introverted. I was like the shyest guy out of like 700 people in my high school by far. I used to have periods in high school where I had trouble leaving the house because I had social anxiety so bad. So yeah, things have changed. But the whole reason why I'm doing a lot of this up front is to set frames, but also for efficiency's sake. If I run into problems, then I can bail and move to the next one. Right? Like there's almost 14,000 phone numbers in my phone. I always show that on my different videos. That's why in the modern day, I think it's better to take like 10 to 20 phone numbers in a nightclub than pull and have the opportunity cost. Because you could, if you get like 5 or 10 numbers in that period during the pull, you could close 2 or 3 of those. So all things considered, and pulls tend to stick better as well. In rotation. Can you see that?
Sort of. Yeah.
I can't see I don't know. All right. But yeah, there's almost 14,000 contacts. All right. So let's just, you want me to continue?
Yeah.
Where's your friend?
All right. So like, where's your friend? Can't find her.
You want to go drink or we can text the address?
All right. So I'm like, let's go drink. We could text her the address. So whenever they lost their friend, like you don't want to go find the friend, obviously, because the friend has no bearing on like your value and all this stuff. And most guys, people have to realize this. Most guys are low value and making tons of game mistakes. And so the friends are naturally like trying to save the girl because in most cases the guy is not cool enough for her, etc. So if we go and find the friend could cock block. So I'm trying to get her to go, and we'll text the friend the address.
Let's get out of here. I just moved you from Vegas.
I'm like, let's get out of here, but she didn't move. So now I'm starting to build in vibe. So now I'm saying I just moved here from Vegas.
I'm like so sick of the San Diego club, so I kind of like whatever. Do you like Fireball?
All right, now I'm talking in the frame as if she's already agreed to come. So I'm like, do you like Fireball? Like Fireball whiskey was really popular at this time. And so I'm like asking her what kind of drink she likes, so I could say, oh, we could go drink that there at my place.
Oh, do you like Grey Goose?
Jaeger?
You like Grey Goose? Oh, I don't know, $3 away. Let's go there. There's many people there. We'll go there and drink some shots, and then we'll text your friend to meet us.
All right, so I was like, I live 3 blocks away. We can go rip some shots there, and we can text your friend to meet us.
I need to find my friend first.
She's like, I need to find my friend first. And this is pretty common. Like, they usually like don't want to just ditch their friend and shit like that. But then this is when you would like resort to baby stepping closer to the exit. So there was like smoking sections outside all the clubs in San Diego. So watch what happens here.
Why?
I came here with her. I'm her driver.
Me and my friends are in the smoking section upstairs.
All right, so I'm like, you should meet my friends in the smoking section upstairs.
Can you meet my friends that are in the smoking section upstairs?
In the smoking section upstairs?
Yeah. I want to meet them. We're not going to leave.
I'm like, come meet them. We're not going to leave. So we're like 1 floor underground right now in the club. And the smoking section's on ground level. And there used to be cabs. Uber was like just getting popular on this time, but there would be cabs that all would pull up outside the club. So we would try to just move girls to the smoking section and then answer objections there to move them into the cab.
I know, but I don't think my friend knows how to get up there.
It's just up 1 flight of stairs. We're not going to leave.
And then she's like, I don't know if my friend knows how to get there. And I'm like, it's just up 1 flight of stairs. We're not going to leave. So now she's coming with me. And so whenever you're moving through the club, I always walk ahead of them or to the side, at least a little bit ahead of them, and hold their hand, or direct them through the crowd. Do you do that as well when you lead them through the crowd?
Hold their hand. A good amount of the time, yeah. Not always, but most of the time.
Okay. And as a side note on that, I always would see on boot camps when the student would be like leading the girl out of the club with his hand behind him, holding the girl's hand. Lots of times when he would get near the exit, his arm would go taut, meaning like his arm would go straight, meaning the girl would like stop. And we could see it from across the club, and we would usually prepare them in advance, but sometimes they would forget. So that's what I call a micro objection. So whenever you hit like a compliance spike, like leaving the club, it's like now she's agreeing. It's like more real at that point. She's agreeing to go off with a stranger to an unknown location and leave her friends behind. Same with getting into the cab. Same with going into your apartment or your house. Even same with going into your bedroom. These are all like micro. I call them like micro objections because they're like of a lesser form, but they still come up. So usually, like a lot of times when you get near the club exit, they'll bring up their objections again, but they'll be in a weaker sense. So when the arm goes taut, instead of being like, no, come on, we're right here, come on, let's go, that which can blow it out. Instead, just be like, hey, what's up? Oh, well, where are we going again? Oh, we're going here. Okay, my friends. Oh, well, don't worry, we'll be back, or we'll text them the address. Right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with what you were saying earlier. How like getting the makeout in the venue can prevent a lot of these compliance, whatever challenges, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, and a lot of the prevailing wisdom or whatever in the community, which is oftentimes wrong, like never double text, never buy a girl a drink, never take a girl to dinner, all that shit's super wrong. People also say like, and I used to believe this too. They say like, oh, if you make out in the club, the girl will like do too much and be ashamed and not go home with you. But it's pretty much the opposite. You just have to handle the hookup objection properly.
Well, I do think it comes from like if you're making out with her for like hours and you're just not moving things along, then I can see that. And then like the sexual tension dies. But if you're making out with her and building and like still leaving some sexual tension on the table, then yeah, I don't think. And then you're moving things forward. So I understand where it comes from, but yeah, I think people misinterpret it.
It should be like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When it becomes like half an hour, that's when you have like an issue.
Yep. Okay. All right, cool. So now I'm moving here. See, we're not even 2 minutes in. Now I'm moving here to the smoking section. So hand in hand. I miss this club. We pulled from this club a shitload.
You remember my name, right?
All right, so I'm like, you remember my name, right? Well, we just start talking about like what she's studying in school and like just random bullshit. I don't know if you could. I'll just let it play.
What was my name? You remember?
Oh, I do that all the time too.
Oh,
I do that all the time too. Do you remember my name?
yeah. I'm just saying whatever comes to mind. Like the key elements, I have like a night game chart. The key elements are just to find out her logistical situation, cement the idea that two of you are going to hang out after. And then, I have like an objection sheet where it's 14 major objections that come up. And I have the optimal responses for each one that I have guys memorize on live programs and for the online trainings. What the major objections are going to be: I can't leave my friends. I have to be up early. What if you're a serial killer? How will I get home? I have to stay till the end. We just got here. It's too far. I can't go unless friend X or multiple friends come with me, et cetera, et cetera. So it's important to know you're going to get the most common one is I can't leave my friends. And there's a way to deal with it in the first half of the night and the second half of the night. And then the next biggest one probably is like the hookup type stuff. Like when you try to pull, oh, well, I'm not that kind of girl, or like, don't think we're going to have sex, all that stuff. But that just comes from the anti-slut defense narrative where she doesn't want to look like a slut to you or to herself or to her friends that know she's leaving, or to God, which I've ran into sometimes, who's always watching.
Jesus is watching.
Yeah. So yeah, there's various ways to diffuse those things, but it's just a matter of each girl has a different set of objections. And as long as and the physicality is the important part too. As long as you're being flirty and fun, cementing a non-platonic frame, moving things forward so that you're running into objections and then solving the objections, you're going to take the girl home. All these guys, I think most systems go wrong because they focus on very heavily like how to do all these complicated, fancy, gamey things to build attraction. So they're like, now it's time to do this little fancy thing, this gamey thing. I tell guys, don't do anything gamey, fancy, or gimmicky whatsoever. Not on your opener, not in any of your verbals, and that like plagues almost everyone's game. Thanks to ours.
Yeah. I think a lot of people add unnecessary complexity to their game.
Yeah,
and I do agree that it's a flawed assumption that you have to build attraction rather than assuming attraction. And as soon as you come at it from you have to build attraction, you're already like losing half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you're trying to win the girl over.
And then by the virtue of you trying to win the girl over, you come off as lower value than the girl.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's why I don't believe in state or anything either. It's like your value. I tell guys in the very first module of my mentorship or my products that your value is at 100 out of 100. And there's a wall, and external events, rejections and negative reactions and stuff like that don't permeate through that brick wall.
Yeah, I think that the concept of state, so this is maybe where you and I slightly disagree. I think the concept of state got really misinterpreted by the pickup community, but state came way before pickup. It came in adventure sports like snowboarding, and it's called a flow state. That's the term that Stephen Cutler gave it. It's a real thing.
I agree with you on that. It's just still the best. I'm not saying that like you can't be in a better headspace or mindset to have better advantage. It's just the best frame to always think that you're at full capacity.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the pickup community really like they took the concept of state and they just kind of like I don't know, they ran with it in the wrong direction basically.
Yeah. RSD fucked a lot of shit up. All right, so just moving forward here, this is just bantering on the way.
The first part, right? Where do you live? You have a house?
Sorry?
You
right, so now I'm asking like which area of the city she lives in and this and that.
House? Do you own your own house?
Honestly, I don't know.
You don't know if you own your own house?
She came here with my friend. I do not
What do you do?
See, she's like, I just came here with my friend, and I just completely ignore that. You keep talking about that.
I think we should quickly touch on the concept of like playfully teasing the girl, like what you kind of did. She's like, you're like, do you own your house? She's like, I don't know. You're like, you don't know if you own your own house.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I fuck with them a lot. Like the large part of my verbals is just like kind of making jokes.
but there's can you explain the correct way to fuck with girls and the incorrect way? Because you see this all the time with like XRSD guys or current
Well,
RSD guys.
it can't like it's back to what we were saying before with fancy gimmicky gamey stuff. It's not like, okay, time to use this outer game tactic of fucking with the girl, or like time to use this clever line. Guys are always like, how do I be the impressive guy, the cool guy, the funny guy?
Right.
Being funny is not about trying to be the funny guy. Being funny is like just not giving a fuck about what jokes you make. It's saying shit that you think is funny.
Very true.
So it has to come from like the internal frame of like you've been out with me before. Like I'm just like cracking tons of inappropriate jokes nonstop.
Yeah.
And like everyone's like, oh my God, but I don't care because I think it's funny. So I guess it ties into like the speaking of no filter. Don't micromanage what comes out of your mouth. So don't be trying to censor what you say. Don't be trying to like say the right thing. Don't put any judgment on what you say. So just say whatever, and then if she's like offended, then you calibrate after the fact. So if she's offended, you can like back off. If she's like, oh, that's too much when you're being physical, you can pull back. But I'm normally assuming everything's fine and just moving forward according to that mindset. And then when I run into an objection or I run into a negative reaction, then I just deal with it in turn. So there's a lot less like trying to prepare for all these different things that can happen, and instead just dealing with things in turn as they do happen.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So.
Oh, yeah. Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I did psych and computer science. I did a master's in cognitive.
Sorry?
Are you gonna be?
I was thinking about it, but
I did psych and computer science. I did a master's in cognitive psych.
That's a lot of information.
So I did like second language, like sensation perception, like morphology, like all that shit.
And we like in our later footage, the camera angles got way better. Some of these fucking guys filming were retards.
Are you really into that shit?
Morphology?
No, morphology.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
It's like the form of words. What's that, man? It's like the form of words.
All right. So one quick note here. Here's where the bouncer is. At this time in this club, they were allowing re-entry, but at some point, like months down the road, like some fucking underage kid that was like 19 or 20, like got alcohol poisoning or something. Like he had like a fake ID. So then they stopped allowing re-entry, and there was all this weird shit. But a lot of the bouncers will cock block you. So even if a guy gets good enough to be able to bring a girl out of the club, a lot of times when you're getting to the exit, the bouncer is going to cock block you because they want you to stay inside and keep buying drinks. So the bouncer will oftentimes try to dissuade the girl from leaving.
Oh, right? Really? Like, what would they say?
And I've ran into that in venues all around the world. Well, they'll just say like, because I tell them in advance, because they'll say like, well, how are we going to get back in and shit like that. And I'll say, oh, like I know the bouncers in the front, which oftentimes I would. But even if you don't, you can just pay their cover to get back in, or just wait in line again. And oftentimes they don't want to come back anyways. Like if you hook up, like they're just going to want to like stay at your place or Uber back to their place. But if the bouncer's like, oh, just so you know, there's no re-entry, and then the girl's like, oh, but I thought there was re-entry. You told me we could come back in. The bouncer's like, no, you absolutely can't come in if you leave. That'll blow it out.
Oh,
so yeah, and the students.
So it's more indirect. They're not going to be like, hey, are you sure you want to go home with this guy?
Yeah, no. I did have that happen once. This is a super quick side note. I was in Vegas and someone texted me and they were like, RSD Alex's Swedish girlfriend or whatever is at the same club. It was at Excess, like the night swim or whatever. And so I like found her and she's like, I know who you are. she's like, whatever you do, it's not going to work. and I like took that to be like a special challenge, and I got it to the point where I'm leading her by the hand out of the club, and the bouncer's like, "Hey, are you sure you want to go with this guy? He's always bringing girls out of here," and she that like made her second guess because she like kicked in back again like who I was and stuff like that, but that was funny because a bunch of guys were texting Alex like, "Hey, Jmulv's pulling your girl," but like so. Yeah, but in this case, he doesn't try to block. But what you have to tell them right before you get to the exit is like he's going to tell you can't get back in, but don't worry, I know the guys at the front will be able to get back in. And then you just have to pay the cover again if you don't actually know anybody, right? So, but he doesn't do that here.
You've never heard of that? Hey, I'm texting my friends to come out.
It's a black light. On your reentry. Wait, please, you're right. You guys need steps?
All right, now a funny thing happens. We run into this girl that I banged, this Irish chick. And so the girl's in a second, she's like out here, and she's like, "That's John the DJ." And so I just use this as like social proof where I'm like, "Hey, like look at this girl I'm with, isn't she beautiful?" And like all this shit, and we just have like a brief conversation with them.
Wait, let me quickly touch on something. Yo, guys, we're gonna answer all your questions after we're done with the infield reviews. So we're not ignoring you. We want to get through this, and then we're gonna answer your questions. So bear with us. Keep going.
Fala para Liz, coffee para me. All right. So yeah, you'll see these Irish girls in a second. But I just banged one of these girls like 2 days before.
So some of my good friends.
Make your way out that way, please. That way.
Is that right?
Yeah.
This is John the DJ.
John the DJ.
What did you say?
John the DJ. Fancy that, mate. It's John the DJ.
And I still wanted to bang this chick again. So like I'm like, oh, this is just my friend about the Mexican chick.
This guy takes
Wait, this is my Irish friend.
Hey,
Let's go, school.
That's so funny.
She runs the party buses and brings.
Oh yeah, so these Irish girls, they would bring like fucking like 50 foreigners into the club that couldn't speak English. They'd bring like these party buses in, and all these people would come in that couldn't speak English, like people from hostels and shit. And so I'm just like fucking around. There's an example of like fucking around, like just saying like I'm like just like dissing her, but like as a joke.
As a side note, how did you meet the Irish girl?
She's like a promoter for like they just like run the party buses.
So you met her at like a bar or something?
Yeah, I think it was at the same place. but she just like brings like fucking busfuls of people that can't speak English into the club, and so I'm like, yeah, it's great. She brings all these people here that can't even fucking talk. So, but nobody understands. A lot of the jokes go over the girls' heads, but like I'll have a wingman oftentimes as well, and then like we're just like dying laughing. So like part of the fun of like doing night game is just like laughing our asses off all night. Like me and my one wingman, we used to have a running joke that like we would get at least one girl to like spit out like a mouthful of drink, like usually beer or whatever, from like just saying something totally crazy.
It's John the DJ.
Like there was this one girl that was like, she's like, you're very cool, or you're very cute or something. She's like, but I do have a boyfriend. And she went to take a drink, and I was like, he should fucking kill himself. And she was like, so all right. Anyways, so that's the party joke here.
We're partners in crime.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She brings like 100 foreigners to the clubs.
Oh, nice.
Nice work. Everyone loves not being able to speak.
John, the top.
We speak English.
I know, but not times.
We don't speak English.
In terms of their first language, guys.
Look how pretty she is. Isn't she so pretty?
Beautiful. Well done. It's a fucking great girl.
She's not mine. She's just my friend.
I said she's like a Greek god. I'm like, she's just my friend. Again, like you're always trying to like balance. Like there's a lot of considerations here. Like I don't want to like blow out, repeat on the Irish chick. I also don't want to blow out the Mexican from looking like a player. So I tell the Mexican these are just my friends. So I guess it's the whole stupid idea of merging sets. In this city, I banged 200 chicks in like a year and a half, and a population of like 900,000. So that's why I usually would move around like every year and a half, because you start to run into like 3 or 4 girls you banged at a lot of the clubs, like every time you go out. And you start to get like a little bit of a rep, right? Same thing happened in Poland. They had like a Facebook group about me in Poland. There was the Polish reporter went undercover, Did you meet that chick or no?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go.
She's just my friend. I'm good.
I'm just waiting for you to know.
Listen. Look at me. Listen.
All right. So here's one little minor point. You have to like direct attention when they're not paying attention. So I'm like, look at me. And I'll always like set a frame down by saying like, here's what's going to happen, or like, here's what we should do. And then I propose the frame, and you're basically just asking for objections again.
Sorry?
Look at me.
So like, look at me.
Can we go drink Fireball and Grey Goose and come back?
I'm like, can we go drink Fireball and Grey Goose and come back?
I'm trying. I have a responsibility to find my
But
friend.
I have like 7 friends in here. We'll just text everyone to meet us.
She's like, I have a responsibility to find my friend. And I said, I have friends in here too. We'll text everyone to meet us. That's like my standard thing when they don't want to leave the friends.
Hey, where are you trying to go?
All right, so where are you trying to go? So now she's like open to considering the idea. And so I would either oftentimes pull out my map on my phone. I remember when I was teaching with Todd, when me and Todd were running programs together, Todd V, in 2012, there was like a boot camp in DC. I pulled this chick that was like close to a 10 in front of all the students. And I just pulled out, the guys were watching, I just pulled out the map. I'm like, hey, we're here. We're going to go right over here. And then fucking, then they know exactly where to go, right? Exactly where you're going. So it makes it a lot more real.
It's only like 3 blocks away.
Where?
Like it's only a few blocks away. And then you just give them like landmarks.
We just moved downtown.
Okay.
Do you know downtown now?
Yeah, a little bit.
You know what Singer is?
And note like the physicality. There's like very close eye contact. And as my game evolved, like you said too, I started getting in. I mean, I'm at like 350 count here. It's not like I was a slouch, but I started as a matter of practice getting into a makeout like almost every time, right? Like you were saying too. I think that's like an essential move is to get into a makeout, because then there's like no question that it most likely will close towards the end and stuff like that. Hold on, she's bringing me coffee. One sec.
It's John the DJ. That's my favorite part of this live stream. The Irish chick with her accent. It's John the DJ.
Yeah. No, Irish chicks are cool. I'm gonna go.
They are. I like the Irish and the English. They definitely have like a really good sense of humor. I think the sense of humor in England and Ireland is like definitely better than America.
Yeah, I lived in England. I did my second master's in England in 2006.
They're very witty, like on average, the British chicks, and they're like kind of like they kind of know what's up almost. Like she knew what was up. She knew you were like trying to bang that chick, but she like just didn't want to cock block you.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like especially now in Brazil, like I'm gonna do a video soon. We had like 3 5-somes last week, like all different. For those of you that don't follow my stuff yet, there's multiple girls living in the house. We had 2 girls living in the house and one was living part-time, but we just had a 3rd girl move in full-time in Brazil. We have a 2-story penthouse here right by the water. And we've just been inviting over like different girls' friends, like because we have like a whole bunch of girls we have 3-somes and 4-somes with, 5-somes now, because there's girls in the house. But we just like I've been doing this thing where I invite their friends and I just bang everyone. Right, like so they'll just be like shit. There'll just be like a bunch of girls here. We have like the stripper pole, and if you own it and you're just like unapologetic about it, everyone just kind of falls into that frame.
It's basically Hugh Hefner in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not like I'm not like giving these girls money or anything. Like the girls in the house, like I pay the rent. They've offered to pay rent, but they make like shit money. I'm like, you don't have to fucking pay rent because it's my place. But I don't give them money for anything, but it's fun. Like we all have a lot of them. Their first 3-somes were with me. Like all 3 of the girls living in the house now, their first 3-somes were with me. And me and the main girl I bring on my channel, we had over 40 in the past year, and now there's been another like 5 or 6 in the past couple months after we did the whole tally on the whiteboard. So it's like
it's funny because when I first met you, you told me that this is ultimately what you want, is to have like kind of like a house where you live with a bunch of chicks. Like literally, this is verbatim what you told me like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
one day.
Yep. My original like big goal in the game, like if you look at like my first field report ever, like from 2009, it's like I want to be the best in the world at this. I want to master this. I want to like relentlessly optimize this and have the best system in the world and the best skills in the world. That was the original goal. And then like 1,000 was like, kind of a step. That was like a stepping stone. I thought that was gonna be like a lifetime goal, but as the skills improved, should I pull up my my lay count graph?
No, I think we've all seen it.
It's basically like an exponential. I like showing it because it's like a smooth exponential, where it took me like 10 years to hit the first 100 girls, and then it was 100 to 150 girls a year until about 2017. And the big optimization I made in 2017 was setting a lot of the girls straight to the house, and also getting better with objection handling and my texting. And then I did 246 new girls from mid 2017 to mid 2018. And that pace was kind of like breakneck. It was like at the expense of like, you know, other like not working out and like other shit like that. And, you know, just letting everything fall by the wayside. And now it's back to like 150 or so, 100 to 150. But now it's more centered around like just a lot of the repeat shit. It's, you know, I always prioritize rotation girls. There's not a whole lot of new closes these days. There was a couple new yesterday, but there hadn't been a new close in like a week. But yeah, I mean, but now we're thinking about taking it to the next level and maybe getting a bigger house. Cause like what's cool is like every new girl I bang, I like, after they're into me, I like tell them about my situation here. I'm like, well, yeah, I live with these girls and I fuck them too. And they're all really cool. All the girls are really like super, super cool. They're living here. It's like, I was talking to Andrew Tate about this. Me and Andrew Tate did an interview. He has 6 girlfriends. He lives with 2 of them, and then he has 4 in another house. So he has like 2 houses with the girls spread across. And he claims he's about like 450 count, but his is more of like a business relationship with these girls as well, because he had like 70 girls on cam girl staff. These girls are thinking about trying OnlyFans, but they haven't thus far. Just because we have a stripper pole in the house and all this shit, and they could, you know, dance together on it.
Dude, I think if you started an OnlyFans documenting your lifestyle, it would within a few months eclipse your pickup income by a huge margin. Like the amount, like I think if you document this shit, dude, it would blow the fuck up. But
well, it's insane. Like when sometimes I think I was telling you last week, like sometimes I just like take a step back when there's just like for instance, like really, really quick, and we'll continue with this. Like 2 weeks ago, we saw these 2 really hot girls at the club. It was me and 2 girls from the house, and we hadn't gone out to do night game. I mean, they just wanted to go out to like a bar, but we hadn't gone out in like a month because most shit's fucking closed and shitty hours and stuff like that. And so we went out, and there was these 2 stunner girls, and it was one of their birthdays, and it's just like done deal instantly when you're with hot chicks, like because there's the pre-selection component, but you know, for those who don't know, pre-selection is when a hot girl approves of you, that other girls approve of you right away as well, because that girl's already approved your value, approved that you're safe, etc. Not a weirdo, all this. So they like bypasses all their approval circuitry and value determining circuitry. And they've even done experiments with monkeys where they'll put a monkey by himself and nobody gives a shit. The females don't give a shit. Then they put a female next to him, and then the other females all come over. So it exists.
They also did an experiment where they gave monkeys money. And they taught them like that money means, I think I told you about this, that like, you know, because you get food when you trade money for food. And the first thing the female monkeys start doing is selling their pussy for to show that prostitution is like natural. That was an interesting experiment.
I love those experiments. They did one with like sugar, cocaine, and heroin, and sugar won as the most addictive substance.
Oh, did it really over coke?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. I've
obviously never done heroin, but I've tried coke a few times, and that shit is addictive. I cannot imagine if I was like a simple primate and like I could just like press a button and just get that shit.
I did cocaine. I did cocaine one time, and it was when I hit 1,000. It was with 2 strippers. They were both like my perfect 10. I'd been like talking to them for like hours and all this shit, and then we ended up having a threesome, and then they one of them just brought out coke and like put it in my face. And the next day I'm like, where can I find more coke? And I'm like, oh, I can't ever touch that stuff again. And I never did. Yeah.
All right, let's get back into this.
Oh, but to finish that story right quick. So it was like done deal. The girls all start hugging and joking around. And it's like, hey, we have a hot tub and like, let's all go back. They're like, yeah, sure. There's like hardly any objections when you try to pull with girls. They come back here. They see the stripper pole. One of the girls knew how to dance on a pole. For like a lot of chicks do it here for exercise, and they're like, oh, we're wearing dresses, and I'm like, babe, go to my main chick Liz. I'm like, go get them there. There's like a bunch of lingerie and shit in the house and outfits, and so she's giving these 2 new chicks lingerie, and it's like 4 hot Brazilian chicks, like trying on different lingerie outfits and jumping on the pole. And I had met this Korean dude at the bar that was like he saw me with all these girls. He's like, I want to learn how you're doing this, all this stuff. And he was like texting me. He's like, can I come to the party? He's like, you left all those girls. I'm like, no, dude, I'm going to bang all these girls. But it's just like another night. And they're like dancing on the pole and all like making out and shaking their ass and all this shit. And they're cool chicks too. Like that's the best part. And then we had them come back with their other friends. So I'm like networking through the girls we pull and through the girls we meet on online game and having them all bring their friends. And it's just like a fucking turning into like an orgy house. Where I'm like,
you're describing it's unrelatable to 99% of the people. you might as well be talking Mandarin right now.
But I could show guys how to set this up pretty. It's not as complicated as it sounds. Like once you deconstruct it. All right, so here we go.
Right.
We live right near that.
Okay.
And we're gonna bring my friends with us. It's not just you and me.
And I said we're gonna bring my friend with us because the cameraman always has to fucking come along on the pole. The cameraman hasn't even been introduced yet. He was like the short dude here.
We'll just text them.
I'm like, we'll text her the address to come to here.
Address. It'll be super fun. Yes, my friends with that. Cool.
Yeah.
Can you very quickly touch on the concept of white lies and like the difference, like why like there's a lot of guys get twisted this about your game, like, oh well, he does some white lies, so that means he's not trustworthy or whatever. Well, can you touch on this concept? Because I also do white lies, but I think you can explain it better.
Yeah. So like let's say you live like 15 minutes from the club. Like it's okay to say like, oh, it's like 5 to 10 minutes,
Right.
Because that's going to help you have a better shot. Like if you say, oh, it's 15 minutes, could be 20 with traffic. Now it's like a harder sell because she has to go further. Everything is about lowering compliance thresholds. So when I said like, hey, let's go to the smoking section, don't worry, we're not going to leave. Like my intention was to leave, but it helps them get the next step by saying like, oh, don't worry, you don't have to leave. And if she didn't want to leave, she didn't have to. It's not like now her hand is being, she's not like getting her arm twisted here. It's just that you're just making it easier for them. You want to like make it as easy of a step as possible. Like there's this one infield where there's like 14 objection, or no, I just said 14 because there's 14 total. It was like 12 actual objections in a row, and it was this huge battle. And my old business partner was helping me answer them. And he's like, just come for 10 minutes. They're like, oh, no, we have to do this. Just come for 5 minutes. Just come for 2 minutes. It got down to the point where he literally was like, just come for 30 seconds. And they ended up coming. And it was more than
for 1.6 seconds. Well, 1.6 seconds, that sounds reasonable.
And it was more than a 30-second walk. But like the thing is like, you just need to get your foot in the door. You just need to get like a little bit closer to that next step. And that can mean all the difference. So if they're like, here's an example. Let's say they're like, I can't come. This happens on weekdays because they have work in the morning. I can't come because I have to be up for work in the morning. Oh, okay. The way I handle that. Okay. What time do you have to be up? Oh, 8 o'clock. So I don't ever have to be up early in the mornings anymore. Ever since I stopped working a corporate job like 8 years ago. But I say like, oh, well, that's no excuse. I have to be up at 7. So I always say I have to be up an hour earlier. And if they say they have to be up at like 5 or 6, I say I have to be up 1 hour earlier than that. And the reason is because I do construction. So that's an example where I'm adapting to the situation, and it doesn't fucking really matter that I don't do construction. To a lot of people, they're like, wait, but I can't say that. What else are you going to say? Oh, I have to be up at 4 a.m. to walk my fucking dog. Okay, maybe you're lying again. And you could say, well, I don't have to be up, but then maybe you're not going to pull the girl, right? So it's not about the game is based on lying. You're just trying to solve the particular problem that they have.
Yeah,
right?
I think what it comes down to is whether the lie is something that's the girl will feel
malicious.
Yeah, malicious and deceit. So, for example, let's say you're at a bar, right, and you're about to pull a girl. She's like, "Do you have condoms?" And let's say you don't have condoms, but your roommate has condoms. Now you could be like, "Well, actually, I don't have condoms, but my roommate has condoms, so I'm just going to ask him for some." Or you could just be like, "Yeah, of course." Like, but if you go back to your place, get her back to your place, and you go to your roommate asking for condoms, like, is she going to feel deceived? No, she's not going to give a shit. Let's say you live 15 minutes away, and you say, yeah, it's like a 5-10 minute walk, and it's a 15-minute walk. Is she going to feel deceived? No. right? So it just comes down to whether there's like that malicious intent. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like white lies either. I think where you get into slippery territory is again when you're getting into like malicious and you're like it's something that the girl feels like really deceived about. Like, oh, this guy told me that, like something like if you're like girl's like, are you gonna take me home afterwards? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then, like, does it really matter if you call her an Uber? No, not really. But if you're just like, nope, I'm not going to get you anything. I'm not going to get you an Uber. Then the girl will feel deceived. So it just comes down to, I think a lot of it is just like people have to use common sense.
Yeah, like an example where it like wouldn't be okay is like I've heard stories of like I've had friends that were like instructing programs and they've had students that are like, hey, like let's go, and the girl's like, I really need to go back to my place. Like I really need to go back, like in Vegas. I really need to go back to my hotel. Okay, I'll drive you back to your hotel, and then they drive back to their own place, right? But they're like going under the premise of like the girl's going with them, thinking that she's gonna get a ride back home, like right then.
Right.
And then they drive to their own house, and the girl's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So you shouldn't pull under false pretenses.
Right.
Which there's been guys in the community. I don't go into the stories, but there's been guys that have gotten in big trouble over stuff like that. RSD back in like 2013, 2014, they were advocating that you like disable the girl's phone so the friends can't get a hold of her, and that's actually illegal, right? So you can't like nor should you even want to do that. But like they were advocating that you turn her phone off, that you break the phone, or that you throw it in the bushes, and they would like tell glory stories like that on videos, and then the media caught wind of that and they like erased all that stuff. But yeah, so it's not about like breaking laws or going to great lengths.
So basically, it's not about deceiving the girl. As long as the girl doesn't feel like deceived, then I think it's like a white lie. Like again, like going back to the condoms thing. Do you have condoms? You technically don't have condoms, but your roommate does. Like, is she gonna feel deceived?
But if you were to tell that full story in full detail, like, no, I don't have condoms, but I'm gonna ask my roommate. Now you introduce some probability that greater than zero, which is the problem. That she's going to be like, oh, that's weird because now maybe that she'll think that the roommate's going to judge her for fucking a stranger.
Right.
And now maybe that made the difference and blew it out, right? Whereas she didn't. It's not, like in a black box world, a black box scenario, it doesn't matter that you had to do that extra step to get it from the roommate.
You're right.
I guess that's the point. Okay, so watch the end here. Then we'll go into questions, guys. I haven't seen any of the questions. I'm sure there's plenty of troll comments.
There's a good amount, yeah. But there's also a lot of serious stuff.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
That bodes well.
You're not petite at all. Petite is like,
I would say.
All right, now these cabs, like they used to always just fucking roll up outside the clubs. That was awesome. In the Uber world, you need to be planning ahead. So, like when I'm with these girls, when we're pulling, like once we have gotten everything on board, I'll call the Uber like right then. What you don't want to be doing is being outside the venue trying to fucking hail a cab or just waiting for an Uber.
That's funny how the Uber revolution changed like the game in some way.
Yeah, but it can sour things heavily. Like you and then so say like it's premature. So say like you call the Uber and you could just in case it was going to be like 10 minutes or 8 minutes or something, and then he comes in like 3 minutes. And you guys are like still mobilizing and he's out front, then I'll just banter with the driver. So I'll be like, hey, we're coming. Like, hey, please wait, we're coming. Thank you, smiley face. Just so then if they left, they would feel bad.
Right.
Like, oh, my girlfriend like is just in the bathroom. Whatever the fuck you have to say. Same when like I'm having an Uber pick up a girl for a date or some shit like that, and usually they're always fucking running late, and then you have to like keep the driver around so that he doesn't fucking leave. And then it throws a monkey wrench because you have to wait for another car and all this stuff. So but this cab's is pulling up here, and we talked to a privacy attorney where we vetted all my footage, and he said don't show footage within the cab because there's an expectation of privacy. So
right, yeah, the expectation of privacy.
We're going to Park Island.
what's that?
I'm just laughing at the concept of like the guy that the girl knows nothing about just getting.
Dude, they very often didn't notice the filmer. It was really fucking weird. Like, I would introduce him usually like, when he was getting in the cab or whatever. But this like
is my minion.
Yeah, and you hear him talking.
He basically follows me around and like. does my bidding.
We had like 4 or 5 camera guys, but this dude that's filming in this one was like really, really fucking dumb. We actually made him take an IQ test, me and my old business partner, and we used our infield equipment to like film him taking the IQ test, and he was just sitting there like looking at the screen like. But he used to ask us like the craziest questions. He'd be like, to my old business partner, he'd be like, Josh, does your mirror work? And Josh was like, yeah, dude, if the lights are on. like stuff like that. But he would just he was just kind of like brain dead. Like he'd be in the club, like I don't know. It was a boring job. He'd like stand there for 5 hours every night, doing nothing. Basically.
No, you don't. You're more than that. Don't stick it on me.
Like sorting out, like paying the cab. The cameraman's like trying to pay it.
This is where it ends, basically, right?
Well, there's like the walk up to the apartment.
I texted her the address. She's coming too.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It is.
I texted her
She's bitching about the friend again. The address.
the address. She's coming too. Did you get in an accident? What happened?
What happens here?
A lot of hot water?
A lot of water.
A volcano?
No.
How do you say it? Come on.
All right, so I'm like saying like broken Spanish and shit because this chick's Mexican.
¿Cómo se llama un... Oh, ¿cómo se dice? Fuck. I'm like, what's your name, volcano? ¿Cómo se dice volcano en español? Oh, S, what's the name? Is it?
Again, it's like making like off the wall, like borderline retarded jokes, which is my favorite.
Yeah,
But the chick, even if like it's not their sense of humor, like you're still like in this fun, upbeat mood. You don't want it to be like this like big serious thing. Like imagine like I was all serious at this point. It would just the vibe would just be like.
My favorite is trolling. We were at me and my buddy were walking around, and this chick actually she started up a conversation with us, but I told her that my buddy was like the plumber. He plays the plumber in porn movies. He's the guy that comes in and fixes your sink, and then he bangs you. And we're just riffing off that for like 10 minutes. We're like, yeah. Have you seen his work? She's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't watch that much porn. I was like, but you know the plumber in porn movies? She's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's him. He plays the plumber. You want to come to a set and watch him fix the sink, and then he can fix your vagina?
Yeah.
She was like laughing too. It was awesome. And then he got her number. So there's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so especially when I was like drinking and shit. Like I don't know. Do you remember when we were out of the club? Like it's like fully off the wall.
Yeah, I do remember that.
The verbals, like even from the get go, like in the very beginning.
So bonita. No, I don't give you more comments. I think you're muy bonita. Josh, El Joshua.
El Joshua.
Muy bonita.
Yeah, and my wingman would all do the same shit too. So like, it's just like a fun group to be around, like regardless of if it's their sense of humor or not.
So the friends came and your wingman got the friends, or what happened here?
No, they're just coming with me.
Okay.
We never met the friend, so I don't know I never met the friend. But it's interesting though.
I like this angle right now.
You can approach groups of. It was funny because the GoPro would actually like make their curves a little bigger because it was like a wide angle lens. So some of the like girls that had really big asses it would just look like all like popping out. What's that?
Monstrosities.
Yeah. What I was gonna say though is like you can approach groups of 2 and pull them from right in front of the best friend or the roommate or the sister and not bring the other person. I did that a whole bunch of times too. Like a lot of guys would think like, oh, she's with her roommate, she's with her best friend. There's no way she can leave. I just wouldn't invite them. I would just be like, hey, like we're gonna go rip a couple of shots. And she's like, well, she's here with me. Yeah, I know, but I'll bring her back soon. I'm just talking like that where she's not even invited. And I've had chicks come like in a different scenario. There was a girl that had her roommate's key, and the roommate had to like come locate her after I banged her and like slapped her for leaving with the key. Which actually worked in my favor because she's like, fuck that girl. And then she stayed at my house like the whole weekend.
You have it or you have? I said about it around the nose.
do it after.
I think we kind of I think let's do 'cause it's more of just probably like the same. Like you already
I like smack her ass here.
Can I smack you once? Yeah, she's calling me homie more than she's calling my name.
All right. So what was the other thing? What was the other thing you wanted to do?
Let's do a summary. Let's sum everything up. Let me do a summary first, and then we'll you can tell me if I nailed it on the head or not. So okay, so here are the takeaways. And I think there's actually a lot of value in this whole thing if you know what to look for. I actually think there's a lot of value here. I mean, you just basically explained my game like right now. Like basically, there's really not much more I think that one needs to know about night. Well, there's a few more things, but like you got like 70% of it. So one is opening the girl with confidence, good body language, isolation, looking at it as, a matter of compliance or not. When you don't have compliance, you build more rapport, and then you recompliance test. Assuming attraction, just shooting the shit, banter, no fanciness, no her gaminess, no crazy tricks, none of this nonsense that's being taught, and then just going for the pull, not giving up. If the girl, for example, has a concern objection, dealing with objection, you kind of saw that as, for example, when you're trying to pull her, she's like, well, I have my friends. You're like, well, your friends can come. She's like, okay, where do you live? And then just keeping the whole thing as smooth and fun as possible. There's no periods during this whole thing where it felt awkward or cringe. The whole thing felt pretty lighthearted and like fun, which is kind of the vibe you want to have.
I normally build in, like I said, I normally build in more rapport and sexualization and get into a makeout and stuff like that before pulling the trigger.
Yeah, but
as the years went on, that was a big change.
I think this was a good breakdown. I like that we fixed the sound. Guys, so we got 112 live viewers. We have like 30 likes. If you guys could all do us a favor and smash the like button, it helps us in the algorithm. Because at the end of the day, who else is doing these live infield breakdowns? Pretty much no one. Actually,
modern life dating.
A live infield breakdown of his tummy tuck surgery.
What's funny? What's funny is like when him and Troy Francis try to break down my infield, they're like, he's not doing any of this fancy gamey shit, and therefore it's bad game. It's like, first of all, you guys don't have any infield. Second of all, like you don't even know what the first thing about advanced game. You're both fucking retarded.
Right. Yeah. I've never even heard of Troy Francis up until
I didn't until recently. Yeah, all those guys are fucking losers. All right, but pop some questions up on the screen.
Let's run through some questions. Alex John, what are signs that a set is no longer worth pursuing?
Just like I was saying before, if you run into a hard logistic or hard non-compliance, like so. Let's say like on the opener, you're like, let's say she's like kind of looking down at her phone. I'm like, hey, what's up? I want to meet real quick, and she's kind of like. I'll be like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? And if she's kind of like that, I'll just walk away.
Yeah, me too.
If you're like talking in the middle in the interaction, she's not really paying much attention, or like she seems like aloof, I'll try to address it first. I'll try to just call it out directly. And if she still is like being like that, then
too many guys waste too much of their time on non-compliant girls.
Yeah,
too much.
Yeah,
like
I've
2
seen
hours will be spent trying to turn a no into a still a no, like, or maybe, like where the whole after 2 hours it winds up with a girl giving the guy a flaky number, or like if they just had like approached other girls, they could have gotten the pool, or a bunch of
it'll drive me crazy on my boot camps. Like a student will be in there like, hey, like blah blah, and the girl's like, I have a boyfriend, and they're like, that's fine, we can just be friends, blah 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 blah, and they're like in there for like 10 more minutes. I'm like, dude, get out, what are you doing? Not
even 10 more minutes, sometimes it's like an hour. I feel like guys do this thing where they try to make like every set work, but you have to accept that part of the game is the majority of sets won't work out.
My close rate, even with 1,371 closes, I closed about 10% of my phone numbers. When I had 1,000, I had about 10,000 phone numbers. Now at 1,371, there's 13,867 phone numbers. It slowed slightly because I've been cock blocked by different girls living here. But
mine is somewhat similar. I would say it's like under 10%. Right about. So yeah.
But you're looking for any sign of the objections or compliance being poor, and then you just leave.
Question for Alex. I already know Jal's answer. What is better, condoms or vasectomy, and why? I don't think I have kids in the future. I think I want to do some permanent due to pickup. Well, vasectomies, as you pointed out, are not permanent, but I'm not the best person to ask this. I've never really researched vasectomies, even though you've been telling me about it.
I got a vasectomy in 2014. So the same year I was doing this filming. So 7 years ago. And it was the best decision ever. I wish I did it sooner. I got 3 girls pregnant in 2014 that all got abortions. But the first 2
I honestly think that I'm incapable of getting a girl pregnant because I've never once had a pregnancy scare my whole life. So I actually do think that I'm barren due to like whatever years of antibiotics and shit. I don't know.
But yeah, just a real quick like vasectomy 101 is it's like 15 to 20 minutes. There's no pain. You're awake. There's a local anesthetic. It's a micro incision, and it is reversible. That's the big myth, is that people think it's a permanent procedure. I froze sperm. I have sperm frozen in San Diego. Sperm is more vital when you're younger, but you can also reverse it. So to anyone not looking to have a kid right now, I advocate getting a vasectomy ASAP. It's cheap. There's no downsides. It just blocks the vas deferens from putting sperm into your semen. And sperm is only 5% of your semen. You still shoot the same loads. You still have the same libido. You even still make the same fucking sperm. It just gets reabsorbed in your body. Back when I was friends with Sonny Arvado, he's like, I don't want to get a vasectomy because it made me less of a man. All it's doing, everything is exactly the same, except it doesn't let your sperm go into your semen. That's it. So, and you can get a girl condoms can break, they can fall off, etc. So like, I recommend getting the vasectomy ASAP to everyone.
What do you say if she says we're not going to have sex?
Most of them will say that. And that's like a matter of course, because they don't want to look like a slut to you or to their friends or to themselves. And so my 3 ways of handling the sexual or hookup objection is don't worry, I have no sexual expectations. Whatever happens, happens. And I like to let things unfold naturally. Those are the 3 main responses.
Uh-huh. What do you think of Winter Game by Todd B? I honestly haven't gone through it.
It's trash. Well, what's funny is like Todd, like my stuff's all about like making it as simple as possible, as efficient, effective, and optimized as possible. Todd adds massive layers of overcomplication. I've been coaching for over 10 years. Me and Todd used to run programs together for RSD in 2012 in New York and in DC. And he just massively overcomplicates game. His technical game is very weak. He's been with like a soft 6, arguably lower, for like 5-6 years and has a baby with her. But I get lots of students that come through Todd's coaching and they just suck. They're massively put in the wrong direction. They're very overwhelmed and confused because they're like, okay, I need to do leveling and push pull and build the story and blah, 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 and all that shit's pointless. And it all does.
There's a lot of overcomplication. We actually have funny this question comes up. I have a review of his Infield and cold approach dropping in like 45 minutes. So check that out.
Really?
Yeah. I did.
Are you neutral or what?
I'm more on the negative side, but I point out the good and the bad. But there's probably
He's been like dodging to come on your channel, right?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of annoying. A lot of people. It's just funny because a lot of people dodge like coming on my channel, but I feel like because they think it's going to be like I don't know me grilling them or something. But
I still like the Jay Campbell response.
Oh yeah, that was the most extreme response. The funny thing is that guy's like all about like mindfulness and meditation and being.
Dude, let me if you don't mind, I'll blast him if you can if I can post.
Yeah. I'll send that to you. Yeah, that was a whole funny thing. All right, I've never heard of this guy. Attractive Man Cold Approach Skills. Have you ever heard of the Attractive Man?
That's Matt Artisan. You don't know who Matt Artisan is?
I've heard that name, but I'm not familiar with his content at all.
What's funny is so ABC Nightline News emailed me in like 2015 and they want to do a segment following on my boot camp and they're like there'll be 3.5 million viewers, but I had like that negative publicity from that shit in Vegas in 2013 and I was like fuck no, and they went and had Matt Artisan do it, and so they did the whole segment about Matt Artisan's cold approach. He's mostly he's running like video sales letters to like YouTube traffic and stuff like that. He's more on the internet marketing side. He's not like some elite cold approach master, but yeah, I'm gonna do a video on him at some point.
Jesse Johns kind of meet you real quick opener and works great, much easier than thinking of some weird situational thing on the fly. Indeed. Yeah,
that like got burned in San Diego because I taught a lot of boot camps there. And I went up to a girl one night and I was like, hey, can I meet you real quick? And she's like, oh, don't try that. I heard that already 4 times tonight. And it's not even like some clever thing. It's just direct with a false time constraint.
Hey, Alex, ARC said that you're in direct POA, who uses a lot of POA lingo. In response to that, he really went off after the interview. Really?
Who's ARC?
It's Alan Roger Kerr. Really? We had a really good interview. We've been like in email communication. We were like saying, "Yeah, man, that was dope. Yeah, we should do another one." So that's a surprise. Can someone please link me this? Because he was like super cordial and respectful on my channel. So that's like a giant surprise to me, honestly. If someone can please send me that, I would be very curious to see. I don't really have any response without seeing it. Okay, let's see.
I'm gonna probably blast him. People send me a bunch of dirt on that guy.
I liked. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's now like making videos on me, but I liked him during the interview. He said everything he said. I more or less like 90% of it I agreed with. Yeah, like 80%. But I liked him overall. John Alex, how do you avoid taking bad sets personally?
You just have to realize it's part of the game. Like look at it in terms of like sales, like with cold approach like cold knocking doors or cold calling. The best salesman in the world is never going to be able to avoid a guy telling them to fuck off and slamming the door or giving some kind of rude or negative reaction. And the same goes true in the game. And I've done experiments with other advanced friends where when I get rejected or he gets rejected, we'll go in on the same girl right after or shortly after, and 9 times out of 10, it's the same reaction. There just exists a category of girls, and Mystery pointed this out. It's like the ones that are very receptive, the ones that are in the middle, and the ones that are very non-receptive.
Right.
And so when you run into the ones that are non-receptive, just start looking at it as like, okay, like I didn't waste any time here, rather than, oh, I suck.
Right. It's just part of the game. It's just it is what it is. What you can do about it. I think it becomes easier with time. The more successes you have, it becomes easier and easier to not take it personally. Thoughts on qualification going down on women? So it's two separate questions. I don't really do much qualification. Honestly, that's never been like a big part of my game. Going down on women, yeah, I used to do it all the time before I fucked up my neck.
Yeah,
now,
I'm gonna make a video on going down on girls. I go down on girls all the time too. I think a lot of guys think that that's beta, or they think. I remember like Sonny would say like, "Oh, I'm too alpha or too much of a man to go down on a girl."
Yeah, that's like
Chris
really
Wilde was like, "Oh, there's too many germs," so he wouldn't do it because he was a germaphobe. Chris Wilde from Social Prime, that fucking loser. But basically, like, if you make the sexual experience good for the girl, it's gonna keep her around longer, and she's gonna reciprocate. So, you know, I always try to give them the best sex of their life on the first time of having sex, and so part of that is being good with your fucking tongue as well.
Right. Yeah, because not a lot of guys can eat pussy well, so that makes you stand out. Alex, Vladimir Putin, the president of my country, is watching my live stream. Alex, were you a Wall Street banker? I was not a Wall Street banker, Mr. Putin. I was always a good Russian comrade. No, I worked in sales before this. Okay.
We're gonna go fly. I just bought a drone for the first time. We're gonna fly the drone over the mountains and lakes and shit after this.
Did Alex show his infield? I'm a bit late. Yeah, I made several videos. Not on this live stream, but I have other live streams and videos where I showed. People always criticize me for doing infield with a dog. Like, why would I not? Why would I not use my dog? It's like a noticeable advantage, and I love my dog. Keep in mind, I only got my dog a year ago. I was getting laid, for at least 6 years before that. So, dog.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when people say like, "Oh, like all your lays are from Colombia." I was there for like 3 weeks. Like,
Alex, do you have a vasectomy or do you use condoms? I use condoms. I do not have a vasectomy right now.
I have a vasectomy and I don't use condoms. Even if I didn't have one, I wouldn't use condoms most of the time. Yeah. STDs are greatly overrated. I have a video on my channel about STD statistics.
Except for Lyme disease. That shit will fuck you up. And as I've learned in the last year, you can sexually transmit that. But that's a whole side tangent. We got a successful night game. Okay, this is an interesting question. What is the morning routine after a successful night game close? Or does she leave the same night after sex?
Lots of times if they stay over, I try to get them to stay over. A lot of guys are like, don't have the girls stay over. That's beta. There's so much fucking misinformation. I want to make like a big video on all the misinformation out there. But I think it's better to build more investment to keep them over. So investment, of course. I just got your notification about the Todd V breakdown. Investment is physical with the hooking up, temporal with the amount of time you spend together, emotional with getting to know each other and getting attached. And so if she stays overnight, now it feels like 2 hangouts because like the scene changed in the morning. and so I'll like make them breakfast and coffee or some shit usually in the morning and bang them again.
Yeah, that solidifies it. That makes a lot more sense.
And I set the next date before they leave. That's super key. Damn, we're like giving away everything here. But yeah, I set up the next date before the end of the first time, so that way, that's how you build them under rotation easier.
What were your biggest game mistakes when you first started?
Let's see. In my first big field report ever, let's see. Can I share my screen again?
Yeah, go for it.
This was like a lot of the big things I was running into in the early days. Let's see. Tell me if you can see this. In a second.
It's not on the screen yet. There we go. At the stream. Okay, it's like super small though.
All right, let me blow it up. Oops. Can you read this?
It's like super small, bro. Do you want just like sum it? this is gonna get like real hard. Do you want just like sum up the few ones?
Yeah. Let's see. Figure out how to deal with the snubbed openers or routines. Practice voice volume and delivery. Make sure the wing is occupying the friends. Make sure to isolate the target. Carry a notepad to keep all the girls straight. Figure out how to deal with girls already opened if I run into them again that night. Open more mixed sets with dudes. A lot of dudes are afraid to open mixed sets, which means just one or more guys in the group. All you need to do is it can be even one girl and one guy, just one girl, one guy. You just walk in, hey, I want to meet real quick. How do you guys know each other? Oh, that's my boyfriend. Okay, have a good night. Oh, that's just my coworker. Oh, okay. So it's always worth opening. And then, I said here I was a pussy and always sending my wing to open mixed sets. But just go in and ask. Wing introductions needed to be smoother. Be prepared with more routines. I was using routines in the early days, but you need to be able to keep the conversation going. It's up to the PUA to contribute 90% of the conversation, especially in the beginning. Mystery says they blame you for letting the conversation fall flat. So those were some of the. But I would say not moving it forward enough, maybe. In the beginning,
mine was probably doing too much gamey shit.
Yeah,
that was a big one of mine. And also not approaching mixed sets. Yeah, I would skip those. I was just like looking for girls by themselves, which has its advantages. But like if a girl was with a group of friends, I would sometimes like skip it, even if the girl was really my type. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Alex, do you raw dog chicks? No, not anymore. Not in the last year and a half.
Really?
Yeah, it has to do with the lime. I was, and then I found out girls lime, and then I'm not going to do that again. So.
I usually raw dog. I like during the foreplay, I'll be like, well, I have a vasectomy, and I've been tested recently because I get tested regularly as well. And the only thing I've ever gotten is chlamydia. I think like 5 times now, maybe 4. I think 4. But that's it. But chlamydia, it's gone in 1 week with one pill. You take a Zithromax, it's gone in a week. And I don't think there were symptoms any time. Maybe I think I had my piss burning maybe 1 time. But that's it.
The Lyme is a nightmare. I wound up giving it to 2 or 3 girls that are confirmed. And then fortunately we caught it early with them, so they're all good now. But I don't ever want to live with the guilt of like giving a girl Lyme. So yeah, until that's like completely taken care of, I'm not going to be going raw. All right, let's this person's like reposting that question a bunch of times. Alex, do you raw dog dogs? Like, why is it such a?
Do you raw dog dogs?
Do you raw dog chicks? Do you raw dog dogs? Me and Reiko use protection. Tavi makes you believe you need a PhD in PUA to be able to consistently get women in reality, boring conversation, respecting the principle of trash and comfort seduction just work. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Todd V fucking blows. It's super annoying when a guy gets a big channel and then everyone says, oh, he has a big channel, therefore he must know what he's talking about. Most of these big channels have no fucking clue. Like,
there's no correlation between audience size and game. Alex, has having a dog had any impact on how women react to you? Yeah, to some extent. There's a lot more comfort right off the bat. They just assume I'm safe because I have a dog. It's a good conversation starter. I would say those are probably the biggest ones. How to get back into game after a long break? What do you think?
I have a video about going against the idea of getting rusty. I think that's like a skill game, just like poker or chess. So I don't believe in the idea of getting rusty. I've taken breaks to be with a girl monogamously, or to focus on fitness or other things, and I'm always like deadly right when I come back to it. I mean, your neurological pathways aren't as strong as they once were, but they get reactivated pretty quick. And the methodology and the strategy is a knowledge thing. It's not a practice thing. So, and as your game gets better, it becomes more automatic. So, once it's all like fully automatic, you're basically like a James Bond, like a CIA agent. Where
it's very true. It does take pretty quickly to get into it. I took a 9-month break when I was like really sick, and then I thought it would take me like months to get back into it. It took me like a week or something. It was like after a week I was like 98% back, and then it took me maybe a month to get the other 2%, but like 98% of it came back, or 95, whatever. It came back pretty quickly. How to same day lay when you don't have your own place?
It's real easy to just pull to the girl's house. So like whenever I'm like with a girl and I'm going to bang another girl, like say I go on a trip with some girl and I'm like staying with her in a place, and I go out, like sometimes I run boot camps, but I'll be like staying at the hotel with a chick, and then I'll like pull back to girls' places. It's real easy. You just say like, oh, I live far from here, or I'm crashing with a friend, or I'm staying with family, whatever the reason is why you can't go to your house. And then you suggest going to her house, and you just objection answer to go to her house instead of to yours.
We're gonna take one or two more questions. I don't want to make this one run for like 2.5 hours, like always. But,
The girls are waiting to use the fucking drone.
Yeah, we'll do one or more. Is it possible to get a good game without making it your entire purpose?
I teach guys. I'm gonna shout out my program real quick. The PlatinumDatingSystem.com, the 8-week mentorship. I get guys to an advanced level within like 2 weeks. And that's no bullshit. Even guys starting as a virgin. So once like I show that exponential late count progression, because I'm plugging guys into that steep part of the curve out of the gate. So like just as a very quick intro of how you can get very good very quick, if I were to take any random guy and have him get pro photos, then I have a team of girls that picks the top 5 pro photos, and then we put face sap and other aesthetic upgrades on them, and then I have him plug into my online messaging scripts. So now he has a rock star profile. I write the bio for him. He's getting a lot of matches. He plugs into my online messaging scripts. Now he's getting a lot of phone numbers. He plugs into my texting scripts. Now he has a lot of girls coming straight to the house and meeting him in public. So literally it goes from getting pro photos to having lots of girls showing up at your house, because I give them all the online message scripts and texting scripts. Then I just have to show them how to close, which isn't that complicated. I have like an hour and a half, like full breakdown of exactly what to do to close at the house and exactly how to run their public dates. And now that's functioning very well. Then we add in the cold approach, and I show them how to get lots of numbers from cold approach and pull from cold approach. And now they're able to repeat that forever. And they don't have to fucking get any more coaching or watch a million videos or anything like that, or be confused and frustrated. And so I can get guys to an advanced level very, very quickly in less than a month. And people are like, that's not possible. Because RSD was always like, you need 1,000 nights out. You need 1,000 approaches. But what they're teaching guys is to go out with little to no strategy and a bunch of woo-woo principles, bang your head against the wall, and just through simply doing tons of action, you're suddenly going to get good. It doesn't work that way. If you were to try to master chess just by playing a lot rather than having a grandmaster show you exactly how to execute optimal strategy, it's a massive difference. So you don't need lots of time. You don't need to devote your entire life to it. You just need to be taught the proper stuff by the right person. That's it.
Word. Let's end it off on this. John, scale from 1 to 10, how much pain do you experience while getting your tattoos?
So I just got 2 weeks ago, I got Thor's father here. And let's see, the face of Thor's father, which people say like, is that your grandfather? And then we have a raven here, and the Thor's hammer, which I had, but we added more around it. And then I did the Phoenix last weekend, and there's like 30 more hours left on this. The dude's coming back in 3 weeks. We're gonna close the whole arm. We have full length Phoenix on the arm, and it's doing wonders with girls. By the way, they're all like, I didn't get it because of girls, but
girls do like tattoos. I've learned that as well. I have.
Yeah, but like in terms of the pain, this sounds super weird, but I just made it relative by thinking about how people like bleed out on the battlefield, and also like there's like small chicks that are like fully covered in tattoos. So whatever. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. It hurts, but it was also like an interesting experiment. You know, like I'm not into Eckhart Tolle and all that stupid like woo shit, but it's cool to like abstract yourself and just observe, because the pain's only like a bothering thing if you let it be. So I was just kind of like observing the feeling rather than being like, oh my God, this sucks. Yeah. But the dude's like tattooing in my house, so the chicks were like dancing on the pole and shit. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. It just depends also on what area you're getting tattooed, like the arms and stuff.
That too. Yeah, the arms aren't that bad.
Yeah, when I got my back done, when they were hitting my my shoulder blade, that was pretty painful. But yeah,
like right.
That's a painful area.
And where is it? On the elbow here was hurting a bunch. And
yeah, so it depends on the area. It makes a big difference actually on the area. It can go from like level 3 to level 7, but I don't think it's that bad. It's definitely tolerable. Depends also on like what your pain perception tolerance is. I've always had a really high pain tolerance, so to me it's like a walk in the park, honestly, more or less.
Yeah, I've been doing Muay Thai for like 5 years, and like in Puerto Rico when I was practicing out there, we would do like full contact sparring with like a different person every 2 minutes for an hour. So you'd be like fighting 30 people that are kicking the shit out of you.
Sure.
So I'm like, I don't know, I'm used to. And my instructor, he was like an animal. He's like, I liked taking hits. He's like, that allows me to get in on the inside, and then they're fucked. But he was like, his eye was like drooping, his bicep was torn, like like a maniac.
Yeah,
it's not a big of a deal. I think it's good. It like conditions, you know, people in our generation, we're not having to fight in wars or work with our hands or anything like that. So it's nice to, you know, be able to take pain and damage. It's good to emotionally too, and like, you know, mentally. I think it's good to endure hardship. That makes you stronger. All that shit I went through with the whole fucking bullshit arrest I had in 2013, where it was like my entire reputation was stripped, you know, and like everything was like beaten to the ground. That was actually very empowering. It was like very traumatic to go through, but you like emerge. Like at this point, I don't care what anyone ever says or does to me, like whatsoever. And it's like almost like a superpower, because, you know, people like nobody can fuck with me anymore, like ever again, really. It doesn't really bother me on a relative sense.
All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream. I think we shared a lot of good value. If you guys want to see more content from John, check out his channel. He's got a lot of really good stuff on there. Check out his product, Platinum Dating System. He has a few, also good stuff. Yeah, smash the like button, subscribe, support. That's really a good first step. And then we got some more good stuff dropping. So we have a video on Todd V game review dropping in like 20, 30 minutes. We're going to do, I think the next collab John and I are going to do is John's going to review my Infield. So we've been meaning to do that. So
let's do that. Let's do that next week if you want.
Yeah, we're going to do that in the near future. I'm probably going to go and shoot some today, actually. So we'll see how that turns out. Yeah, good stuff. All right, guys.
Yeah, I can't really shoot much new these days in Brazil because it's all fucking Portuguese.
Yeah, that's like the big issue there.
But I have like fuck tons that's like unedited that I need to release at some point. We made so much, and our game was good enough at that point that we were usually doing awesome shit every night. So that there's just like endless amounts to go through. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. Thank you guys.
Pleasure. Anytime, man. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time.
All right. See you guys later.